Hi, I'm Jamie-Lynn Sigler, and welcome to Living With It, a 10-part series about what it means to keep going when life doesn't go according to plan. Through honest conversations with people who've experienced loss, illness, grief, and life's unexpected challenges, as well as experts who help us navigate them, we hope you'll leave each episode feeling inspired, understood, and a little less alone. Welcome to the first episode of Living With It. Today, we are talking to Amy Kurtz. She's an author, a certified health coach, a patient advocate, a speaker, and a wellness personality focused on chronic illness, invisible illness, nervous system healing, Lyme disease, and patient empowerment. Amy and I have been Instagram friends for how long? Maybe, a year, 2 years?
At least two.
At least two.
Yeah. Getting closer and closer.
That's right. If not, we're right there on our anniversary. Yeah. And she recently came to my book signing in New York, so I got to give her a hug and meet her in person, which I was so grateful for. But, Amy's been sharing her health journey and what it's been like and what she's learned from it and about herself for a long time. She's had her first book, Kicking Sick, and now But You Look Fine. And I'm so excited to have Amy here because she really understands how to walk you through the journey to make you feel incredibly seen, but also give you valuable tools, help you find your voice, help you make sense of all the things that you're feeling. I was reading through it and just felt I had so many light bulbs go off for me and aha moments that I can't wait to talk to you about that I also realized that I still struggle with, made me realize a lot of the things that I'm kind of stuck in and thought patterns that I'm stuck in. So I'm so grateful to you, Amy, and the work and the heart that you are putting into everything you're doing. But before we get into that, I want you to take us back to the beginning, help our listeners sort of get to know you of just how this journey started for you and what brought you to initially write Kicking Sick.
Thank you for your beautiful words. I'm so happy to be with you, and what you said means so much to me. I have had a real whirlwind of a journey with my health, and it's been very long-winded, but I went from being a sprightly little kid with full of energy, never wanted to miss anything, always wanted to be with my older sisters and do everything they were doing, to having debilitating back pain at age 14. And being a 14-year-old girl is hard enough, but being a 14-year-old girl with back pain and trying to fit in was really intense. And I see it now when I look back at that time in my life. I don't think I really grasped all of that then, but I could see that was the first big pivot in my life, and also the first time that I put on a mask because I wanted to fit in with my peers.
Meaning covering up your pain?
Yeah, just feeling like I was aware that other people were uncomfortable with me being in pain. And because I was young and trying to fit in, I think it was a coping strategy that I just, in recent years, have looked back and thought, oh, wow, I was more isolated in ways than I thought. I've actually never shared that before, but
that's very natural and very real.
Yeah.
People are doing that illness or not, especially at that age. But unfortunately, it feels like at every age that we're just hiding parts of ourselves to make other people comfortable for the sake of saving relationships or wanting to be included.
100%. And you did such a beautiful job of this in your book, talking about how keeping secrets can make you sick and are so painful. And that was something that really moved me from your book talk that I came to. I literally said I was crying the whole time. I was. I don't know if you saw me, Allison, but I was.
I was too. So everyone was glassy to me.
So after that, I come from a Western-minded lineage of physicians. It wasn't for lack of privilege or lack of seeing specialists, but nobody could really figure out what the root cause of it was. And I was just put on anti-inflammatories and basically just had to manage now going from a normal teenager to a teenager in pain. And And then when I was 25 years old, like everything was pretty much status quo from then until 25. I took a trip abroad and I got really, really sick. I had a total health crisis. It was like a system down. I gained 30 pounds in 30 days. I couldn't keep any food down. I had rashes all over my body. My hair was falling out. It was
You
like
were alone too? You were abroad, like studying abroad, or?
I was doing a trip called Birthright in Israel.
I've done Birthright.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
So I was like behind the elderly up the Masada, like trying to keep up and not able to catch my breath. And had this moment, I remember it so clearly, where I'm like, something is not right. Like something's going on. And then it just got more intense and more intense and more intense. And I came home. I had to move back home with my parents, which again, that's another life, a part of your life where you're figuring out who you are in the world and who you want to be. And most of your friends are launching and becoming their own individual person. And I was moving home to my parents' house back in Philly to try to figure out what was going on, because it felt like a real emergency. And I just felt so terrible. And it sent me from doctor to doctor to doctor, trying to get clear answers, trying to get answers that made any sense. And like I said, modern medicine is amazing and it's life-saving, but I found myself not getting the help that I needed with certain specialists. So it made me look outside everything I'd ever learned. And I looked to Eastern medicine, and I tried anything. I tried literally anything.
Was this you? Is this your parents, or was this you being like, I need to take things into my own hands here?
There was just an inner calling inside myself where I was like, this situation is too dire. It's too scary. It's so overwhelming. It's getting worse. I have to just get in there and try to find somebody who's different than what I know. Mm-hmm. And it sent me on this real healing journey, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Yeah. And I finally landed with functional medicine, and I thought I had the right diagnosis. Like, I was diagnosed with hypothyroidism. That is real. I was diagnosed with celiac. That is real. But because my baseline had been off for so long, I didn't realize that I was treading water. Mm. And it wasn't until after I wrote my first book, Kicking Sick, which was really a love letter from my heart to anybody struggling with a chronic health condition. I couldn't find anything that wasn't so depressing when I was young, and I was trying to find my way through this situation. Like, literally all I could find was how to be sick and tired. Mm. And I just remember sitting there 25 years old in my old bedroom that I grew up in, just being like, no, this cannot be it. This can't be it. There has to be something else than just being sick and tired. And so I really wanted to help all of the people that were in the same position as me, especially young women with Kicking Sick, to make something that is so incredibly painful and so incredibly sidelining, and make it transformative. And it wasn't until the press for that book, which blew my mind, I was so thrilled with the reception of the book, but I would go home and feel like I would crash. I was this glowing picture of health and happiness on the cover of the book. And I just felt like I would come home and fall apart and think, pray, I don't know how I'm going to have the energy to get up there and do this tomorrow. I just don't have it in me. And it literally wasn't until then that I realized I really had no answers.
That you still hadn't found the answer.
Oh, no. Yeah. I also felt like a fraud. I felt like, look, I presented myself like this glowing picture of health and that I have it all figured out, and I don't have it figured out. So that was a real, really powerful moment in my life where I said to myself, I believe you, and I'm going to go get another opinion. So I went to my 36th doctor. And I had heard really great things about him. I brought my Harry Potter anthology of medical records. And I was like hoping on a prayer and going in. And that's just not, that's just not a financial investment. When you've been through so many physicians, it's literally like you have to gear up emotionally, mentally, financially, in every way, you have to get prepared.
Well, that's exhausting in of itself on top of what you're already feeling, because it's like you're going in with like a hope, but also like bracing for heartbreak again. It's like it's a
Exactly.
really, really complicated, nuanced thing. I give you so much credit for entering into another office on the 36th time, because it's defeating in
Yeah,
every which way.
totally.
Wow.
That's exactly how it felt. But I had heard really wonderful things about this doctor. And I just was like, I wrote him a letter and I said, I'm a health coach. I built the health coaching practice and I am a patient and like, I need your help. And he said, yeah, come and see me. So I went and he did all the tests again, which is a lot. It's all invasive. It's all just like, really? They already have these results. I have to do them again?
What kind of tests was he doing?
He was doing everything. I mean, if I showed you the amount of blood that he drew for all these different tests, he did kits, he did stuff for my gut, he tested for Lyme disease. And when all the results came back, he just really clearly looked at me in a very grounded way and said, I'm very clear what's going on here. You have late-stage neurological Lyme and co-infections. And it was like everything inside of my body reverberated. Like
Wow.
I knew it was true. And I knew it. There was no shadow of a doubt. I knew it started when I was 14. I didn't need test results to prove it. I just knew it was true. And on a soul level, I knew it was true. And that was such a profound moment. I wrote about it, but it didn't make it into this next book. But I was so proud of myself that I haven't given up, because so many people had said, well, like, I think this is just maybe the best it's going to be. And this is just something that you have to live with. I was also really struck by how much grief I felt at getting the diagnosis. And it was daunting to me. And I also felt like, where did my life go? I've spent so much time looking for answers. And so I've seen so many people and all of my energy has gone here.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't advocating for myself, what would have happened?
Have you always been kind of somebody that was confident in speaking up for yourself? Like, how did you find the strength to advocate for yourself during all of that time while also feeling incredibly ill?
It's really nuanced, because I would say that, like, as a kid, I was always that way. I would always call it like I see it. And some of the stories that I hear from my parents are hilarious, because I would just say it straight up. But so I always knew that something was wrong. I mean, any patient, you know this, any patient that feels like something is really off in their body is listening to their body's signals. It's listening to what it's telling them.
And I think it's really important what you said too, because I can think of so many times that I've been in doctor's office, and I think we're sort of trained to think, because you're sitting across the desk from somebody with all of these, degrees on their wall, that they know everything and everything that they're saying is right. But I can remember sitting across from many different doctors, and nothing that they were saying to me felt right. Like, felt like they were talking about me, talking about my body, and you had that experience where you said it vibrated, but it's hard to trust that intuition and find that voice. And I think that's something that's one of the things that you've been such an incredible example of for people.
Thank you for saying that. I've struggled with it too. I mean, that some of the themes I talk about in my new book, But You Look Fine, is losing trust in myself because of how many times I'd been gaslit or invalidated. But you bring up a really amazing point, and it's an important point, which is that when we're young, especially as women, we're taught to defer to people in power. And that starts with our parents. We need them to survive. And that applies when you're a patient. You need a doctor to help you. And so some of this early programming comes into the doctor's office where you have to choose attachment or authenticity. And Dr. Gabor Mate speaks about this a lot in my book, where when we're young, we have to choose attachment to survive. we have to just accept it because we need our parent or whoever's our guardian. But when we're older, I think that sometimes patients get into this situation, and I certainly did for so many of them, where I just was like, can you just handle this for me? Can you just take this and tell me exactly what to do or do it for me so I don't have to feel all of the things that come with it? And a lot of times I would really accept incredibly bad behavior that I would not accept from someone in my normal life, but I needed them to get better, or so I thought. And I think that a lot of patients, especially in this invisible illness spectrum, think that they don't have a choice over who they choose as their doctor. But it's the same thing as like you wouldn't normally marry the first person you date. It's not unlike that. But patients don't feel that they have the ability to be authoritative in choosing who they want to work with. I mean,
it's like an interview for you, the patient.
100%. It's the same with the therapist. It's like my list of the things that I need in a doctor or a therapist might be totally different from yours, but you have every right to go in and make sure that you're finding somebody who gives you what you need and doesn't make you feel bad, or that you can leave if it's been enough time and it hasn't worked anymore. I mean, I feel a lot of times people feel like they can't do that. But the truth is that just because somebody's a best specialist doesn't mean that they're the best for you. And you could get stuck and lost like I did for so many years. Like part of what I'm trying to urge patients to do, and my message is not do as I did, like do as I'm urging you to do.
But that's a lot of the time what teachers are people that like own their journey and that we didn't always get it right. I'm speaking to you from experience. And also, I think to also explain that sometimes we can't bypass the experience. Sometimes the experience itself is also something that we need to go through just as a human being.
I love how you said
but then
that.
there's these lighthouses like you that can show you and you can look to and you can and they can guide you. But I say that only to make sure that nobody's beating themselves up about doing it right or wrong. It is so, like you said, nuanced and complicated and overwhelming, all the while you're doing it while you're feeling sick. So, you know, there's things to remember, like that your voice is just as important as the person across the desk, and you have the choice in who you want to be on your team. But not getting it right is also part of it. It's also it's a learning curve.
Yeah, I loved what you just said about bypassing. It's part of your experience. And also, I'm sure you feel this way because I can see this in you when you speak, but when you deal with a health crisis or an ongoing health condition, it shows you what you're made of. Like it really shows you who you are and what you're capable of if you let it. If you don't bypass or push over your pain, you can't pave over it. You could try, but it'll always be around you like a ghost.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. You brought up grief. Did the grief come up for you oddly in the moment that you got that diagnosis, where all of a sudden you were able to sort of allow, like you were saying, maybe that thing that you were carrying that you didn't even know you were carrying because you were too busy like looking for answers, that like finally when you got one, you were able to like see all of the things that you were not dealing with that were actually plaguing you as well?
Yeah, I've always been a very sensitive person, and I always felt the sadness around it, but it wasn't until the diagnosis that I started to realize how much grief I was carrying. And then it wasn't until I did the treatments, which made me sicker, before I felt better, and I'm still ongoing. It wasn't until I had a little bit of relief physically that I had the capacity to handle what felt like an avalanche of pain and grief and sadness that opened above me. And that's what happens a lot of times is like patients who struggle with invisible illnesses, they're in survival mode, especially if you don't have the right team. And so you just shelve things that are fucked up or that you just don't have capacity to handle or deal with. So you deal with it later. And that's exactly what trauma is that your brain literally takes something and stores it somewhere else until you have the capacity to process it. And it wasn't until I was better that I had this string of events in my life that started to happen that reminded me of who I was before I got sick at 25 that just, I mean, like the amount of sobbing that happened. I was watching This Is Us with my husband and we like always had a little cry, but something unlocked inside of me. And I realized, wait a second, I'm 40 and I was 25 and I don't even know where my life went. I don't know how I got from there to here. And it wasn't like I wasn't living. I got married. I have great friends, but it was like I was running the whole time. And it feels like I blinked and went from 25 to 40. And I don't also think that if I hadn't done spiritual work on myself, maybe I would have probably been scared of the feelings that I was feeling. But
because you feel like if you feel it, then it'll always feel it. You'll always feel it. You know what I mean? It's such a big feeling.
You have to feel it to heal it.
That's
or
right.
It's just like a 50-pound weight that you're carrying around on top of you.
Yeah, it's part of the healing process.
About illness that doesn't cause grief. I mean, it literally alters everything about your life as you knew it. All of the dreams that you had about who you would be, all of the thoughts of where you thought your life would go, all of your expectations, it literally shifts the axis on which everything in your life functions. It affects everyone that loves you, everything you do, every interaction you have with anyone. And for me, it felt like I went from being a young woman to a patient. It completely took over my identity. Everything else came second, and there were things that were really important and great in my life, but I was a patient. And I always saw it as, I think this was my survival mode, but I was like, okay, I'm an actress. I'm just gonna pause, deal with this, and then go right back to where it was before. And I had thought I would be an actress from age 5. I went to college for it. I was like, this is who I am, full clarity. I'll just put a pause button, deal with what I'm dealing with, and then go back to it. But it was 15 years later, and nothing was where I left it. There's this societal expectation that you're either sick or you're well, and that there's no space in between. And that's both absurd and insane to have that expectation because, you know, the medical system says, well, the physical body's better. Get back up on the horse or you're well, just get back to your life. But like the cruise ship had left, the horse was gone. Nothing was where I had left it. And I had changed so profoundly, not in a negative way. Like I found something so deep within myself, which I know you have too, because when I was listening to you, I could feel that from you, that there is that expectation from society is so almost oppressive.
Yeah.
I mean, there's literally nothing that affects the physical body that doesn't affect the mind and the spirit. It's impossible to disconnect them, and it's detrimental to tell a patient that they should just be grateful because they're better. It affects you in every single way. And if you let it, the experience of it also shows you such a depth of yourself that for me, from where I came from, I would have never even tapped the surface of how well I've gotten to know myself or how grateful I feel every day when I get to look at someone I love and hug them or go outside or just do things without constantly thinking about how much energy is this going to take for me if I do it.
Yeah. I relate to you so much in that. And I think that's so much of the message that you and I share that we want to broadcast from our own experiences is just being examples of people that are just living with it and persevering and it not being perfect and honoring the difficult, but celebrating the wins and acknowledging our strength and acknowledging the people around us and what we've learned and what we've connected to because of it. Because I said this a lot on my book tour, and I said it in one interview, and it like went off like a light bulb for me, where I was just like, pain is inevitable in life, right? Struggle, it just comes along with this deal here. But the stories about the pain is what keeps us suffering.
I wrote it in my journal when you said it.
But it's true. It's like, if I can think about, and I realized it when I was writing my book, of like all the things I told myself of who I was and what I was because of the things that happened to me. And then it like laid all of this groundwork for like a false identity of like who I thought. Like, it was just so unfair the way I treated myself and thought of myself and assumed that the world viewed me because of these stories that I told myself about my pain and about things that had happened. And I think MS was the thing that brought me home. I think it was the thing that like brought me back to myself and to appreciate myself. And like you said, for so long, it was like the focus of like healing the physical body.
Yeah.
That it was when the moment where I realized that the healing actually meant like the whole self, it all made sense, and I felt hopeful. I felt possibility, because, otherwise you'll just sort of drown in information, and it doesn't feel, you feel so disconnected. You feel from yourself and the world, and so isolated. And so to have the idea that there are things that we can take from this and garner, strength and self-worth from this type of experience, you broadcast so beautifully.
Oh, thank you so much. I really feel like there's such a loneliness epidemic in our country, and I can't think of anything more lonely than living with invisible illness. And I just resonated so much with what you've shared recently about keeping things silent and not sharing them, because I was sitting at your event and I was like looking back. I felt like I was watching like my life in rewind after I left, like when I was in the Uber home. And I was like, I've worn a mask so much of my life to make other people feel more comfortable with what was going on with me. And that was a layer that like I've talked about before, but I didn't understand until I heard you say it, just how detrimental that was to my self-worth, to just be hiding my authentic truth and my suffering to make everybody else comfortable except for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Because what does that do? It just keeps you so isolated. It means that you're literally isolated by a veil that nobody else can see. And it also was a protective mechanism for me, because I wasn't in the hospital, but I was really struggling. And I would get so many comments like, you look fine, or any better, but you look great, or just things that made me feel so bad. So I also felt like I had to put that on because I wanted to protect myself. But the more that I did that over the course of my life, starting at so young, the more disconnected I felt from myself and the world around me.
That's right. That's right. In your new book, you talk about medical trauma brain. So this is one of the things where I was like, oh my God, you are speaking to me. Please explain this, because it's almost impossible as somebody with a chronic illness to not have this, right? Or be touched by it, because, you talk about the whole thing of like being stuck between sick and well. And like, I constantly felt like a failure, because like I was never like, especially with MS, it's like, I'm never gonna be like fully well. Like, I just feel like I've just been stuck in this loop. So tell us about what medical trauma brain is.
Medical trauma brain, or MTB, is what I call the emotional, psychological, and mental imprint of having lived with chronic, invisible, or acute illness. Like I shared before, our medical system sees the body as separate from the rest of us. And there's no scenario in which a life-altering diagnosis or illness or acute experience with your health, like a heart attack or a stroke, there's literally no way that it doesn't affect the rest of you. And I'll share my own story of it, which is that the symptom of it, I was a lot better. I physically felt a lot better, but I was struggling in a way that I had no language for or no way to explain. And I didn't know what was happening inside myself. I just know that I felt so tense. I was like bracing for impact, waiting for the other shoe to drop, hypervigilant, obsessive to the point of obsessive compulsion. If something scared me or anything felt like a relapse, I was terrified that the onset of any symptom would take me right back to where I was at my worst. And I felt like I was locked in this prison inside my brain with no way out. So like
any little thing, you're like, oh, this is it again.
Like I was like, oh no, is it going to get that bad? Like, what can I do to control this so that it doesn't? And I knew that something was off, but nobody was explaining to me that anything happened to you after you got a little bit better. And
right, you're supposed to be happy now, right? It's supposed to be
like, what's the problem?
Right.
You're fine. You look fine.
You look fine.
But it wasn't until I was on a date with my husband where he took me on what I call the worst date ever. And this is what I love about him, is that he just tells it like it is. But
you need it. You need that. I got one of those.
I do love it. But in this moment, I was like, ugh, no, okay. So he was like, listen, I have to say something and it's going to sound a little provocative. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what, dude? We're on a date. And he goes, I know, but I need to say it. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. Tell me.
Yeah.
And he was like, I've always expected that there would be another phase of you with this. And I'm like, huh? And he goes, you've just been through so much. It's been so traumatic for so long that I always expected that there would be another shoe that would drop.
Oof.
And this dude has no medical training. He's just been on the front lines of my experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I was stunned. Like, I literally think my mouth was like hanging flat on the table. But I just was like, I was almost in a state of shock. And then over the days that followed, I was like, oh my God, it is trauma. That's what's happening. And then I started to delve into the research and talk to other patients. And when I would say it, people would go, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm feeling. Then I went to doctors, all kinds of different doctors. And I said, hey, have you ever seen an experience where a patient is better than they were, but they're not acting as if they're any better because they're so tense and hypervigilant and like afraid it's all going to get as bad as it was before they started the medication or they got the right diagnosis? And when I would say it, they all literally went, huh, now that you say it, yeah, it is. It's like that patient who is better, but they're not acting as if they're better. And I'm like, great, that's what I'm talking about. What is it called? And nobody could tell me. And then I started to delve into trauma and understand, well, it's not post-traumatic stress disorder, because that is when an external event that is traumatizing happens to you in a singular experience. And then I realized that it's sister from another mister, complex post-traumatic stress, which is mostly being more studied now and accepted now, is when the event happens over and over and over again. But why this was different than that, and why I called it medical trauma brain and named it something, is because the threat was my body. Like, I felt so scared and disconnected from my body because it
Oh my
had
gosh.
hurt me for so long, or it felt like it had. And
Yeah. Betrayed you.
yeah, so I felt this like deep mistrust of my body. And
Even if it felt well.
oh yeah, I was like, we're unsafe in here.
That's right. That's right.
So while I felt better, and I still have hard days all the time, when I felt better, my mind didn't get the memo. I was like, my mind was still on the hamster wheel and my body's like, can we take a nap? Like,
Yeah.
it's been a lot, but I couldn't let go of the grip. Like, I call this part of me super freak. I felt like somebody had taken over me, and she like lands on the scene with a backwards cape and glasses on crookedly. And she's like, we got to manage all of this so it doesn't become an emergency. And she ran my life. Like, I became her. And now I know when I get scared or when I feel that kind of feeling coming on, I'm like, okay, like I got the tools now to deal with this.
Yes.
But I think what was the most painful part of it is that nobody ever said, hey, this could happen.
Yeah. Well, listen, it takes someone that goes through it to do that. You talk about the 6 phases of chronic illness that can lead to medical trauma brain. Can you talk about what those are? Because I'm sure there's people that are, trying to figure out if this is kind of what they're dealing with or not.
Yeah.
One is not knowing what's wrong. Right? So that's like the quest to figure out what is happening with me. Why am I feeling these symptoms? I'm not crazy. Somebody validate, tell me what is wrong with me, right?
Yeah.
Number 2 is the diagnosis itself, which can feel, you write, like a life sentence, and the painful questions that come along with it, which sometimes also you don't deal with. Like someone like me, I got the diagnosis and I was like, I don't even want to think about what MS means for my life, which is also its own thing.
Yeah, because it's like you have the diagnosis, but so in one sense that feels like a prison sentence, and in another it's like you're floating around in this abyss, not even being able to process what that could possibly mean for the rest of your life.
Yes, exactly. The identity shift, right? So you're transitioning from who you identify before being sick as into now becoming a sick person, a chronically ill person, somebody that has the label or the diagnosis around them, right? So it's like, I'm someone with MS forever, as opposed to I'm Jamie and MS comes along with my ride, which I've learned how to kind of reframe. But for a while it was like, I am MS. Yeah.
And for me, it was like that split I was talking about, how I was like, well, I'll just get back there as soon as this is over. It's that recognition of, oh, I might actually not get back there now that I have to deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a pervasiveness about it.
Then there's treatment hell, because treatment ain't always fun.
No, it isn't.
It usually isn't.
It also, like, it makes you feel worse before you feel better in so many cases.
And that's a really hard thing to ride through. Also, I've had so many people be like, hang in. And I'm like, oh, I want to quit. I don't want to feel worse.
I know. And it's also like, especially, I'm wondering if you felt this way, but for me, it was like, I tried so many things. I had no idea what was working. I literally would throw spaghetti at the wall with everything. I'd do everything and I'd be on 8,000 things and I'd be like, I
wrote this to talk to you about, because this like pressure, I think that like my whole algorithm is how I healed from MS or, this. And it's like, but I tried that diet and I tried that supplement, and like you can start to feel broken.
Yeah.
That it's not working for you. Like you end up feeling pressure. I've found myself in moments where I feel pressure to heal. And sometimes people will be like, I know somebody that healed themselves from MS, and like look at me like something's wrong with me that I'm not able to do what somebody else did.
That makes me so angry in such a deep way. I don't even know how to express that.
It's really hard to navigate. Because it's like, I appreciate what people are putting out into the world and saying like, this made me feel better, but not everything works for everybody. And it's a dance. It's like I think you have to check in with yourself constantly, and also don't hold this, like, talk about it, whether it's with a therapist or friends or your partner, whatever it is, because I that was another thing that was sort of feeding the negative narrative in my head, was like, I'm never going to get better. I'm not one of the people that gets better. I'm just always going to feel this way. And also, again, feeling more broken and more sick because, or am I not worthy of getting, all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You talk about the isolation, which is number 5, that, no one really knows what we're going through.
Yeah, you feel misunderstood by everybody around you, society at large, maybe your boss at work. But the bigger problem is that the medical system itself compounds this, and it doesn't acknowledge the damage that chronic illness does to the rest of you. It's just looking at it as if it's affecting your body, and it's affecting all of you. Your whole life has changed. The rug has been totally ripped out from under you, and you're just like shot out of a cannon into this new reality that feels like hell, like a fresh hell. And you're like, oh, maybe this is going to be forever.
That's right. That's right. And then number 6, that hamster wheel of trying to find the right doctor, the diagnosis, the treatment, like.
Yeah. And then for me, eventually
times.
the fear of being sick, or the fear of if I stopped or if I let up at all, it would come back. Those are the things that I think really add to.
Yeah, I struggle a lot with the fine line of pushing myself and pushing too far. Because sometimes I'll start getting in this loop of like, I haven't done physical therapy in a couple of weeks, and I haven't really moved my body, and I've been really lax with my diet. Like, I'm going to get worse. I'm going to get worse. Like, if I don't, like, it's like, I think like I have to be train like an Olympic athlete to even just not get worse, not to even feel better, just to not get worse.
100%. It's like you're always striving for not missing a single thing that you need to be vigilant about so that you feel baseline okay.
Yeah.
It's like this extreme burden on you. You're right. It is like Olympic training, because it's like but you're trying to prevent feeling worse, not winning a gold.
That's right. There's really no prize at the end. It's just to not like fall down. Yeah.
But all of these things led to like what I call the Shadowlands, which is the symptom of medical trauma brain in my book, where I was better, but I wasn't. I was out to dinner with my friends. I was there. I loved them so much. I was having a good connection. We were laughing. But part of me felt like part of my brain was like locked in a sandstorm desert, or what felt like the upside down world in Stranger Things, where I just felt like I kind of was trapped and I didn't even know what was happening to me, and I couldn't find language for it.
Yeah.
But then when I started to interview other patients, it was fascinating, the recognition that they felt when I said it, because I interviewed a migraine sufferer who said, oh my God, I don't have chronic migraines anymore. But at the onset of an aura, I'm already in bed with an Advil in the dark. Or another patient said, like, if at the onset of anything, I've already called the doctor and done 80,000 things, like we were just saying before, that we have to do all of these things so that nothing comes back and we keep it okay.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of stress
to have to hold.
It's a lot.
And how are you supposed to unlock from that mode?
Yeah. I think I've also just learned to give myself grace, because I think there's still many moments where I'm at a lunch with girlfriends, I'm at the field with my kids, and I'm really struggling, and I don't say anything, because it'll slow down things, it'll pause things, it'll kill the vibe. So I just, put the strong face and cover it up.
Yeah.
And I don't beat myself up for having those moments, because I also have allowed the other moments to deeply share and to speak what is going on, whether that's in private or with people. I think just knowing that there's times that I can release that pressure valve and acknowledge what I'm going through has helped me a lot. But you talk about something that was another real aha thing for me, which was the responsibility that we can feel to look and feel resilient. Especially when I became public about having MS, I don't want to say I felt pressure, but I felt kind of like this responsibility to be like, but look at me, I'm still doing it. And I'm not, and it's not that I was inauthentic, but it can feel overwhelming and also isolating, like to look and seem resilient and strong on days that you just don't. And like feeling that version makes everybody more comfortable, makes everybody feel safer. I mean, especially even with my own parents, you know what I mean? Of them, like I live so far away, I don't want them to worry. So it's like, she's great. She's so resilient. She's so strong. These are all things we label as positive, but they come with a heavy weight too.
Totally. I've been called tenacious my whole life. But then I felt like there was an expectation for me to just always be tenacious. Yeah. And I feel there's almost like a resilience trap, which I talk about in the book, which is that there's this, we're taught in our society that to be resilient is a superpower, and that you need to go and achieve and do and succeed and push through no matter what the cost, because that's what success looks like. But what nobody really talks about is that you have to be resilient to be a patient with anything. You have to. You are resilient because you're going through it. Exactly. But when that resilience becomes chronic, and that's the only mode that you're functioning in because you feel like you have to, whether that's for your loved ones or because you're really in the thick of it and you don't know what's going on, it literally rewires your brain. It literally leaves a residue where it's impossible for your brain to get off of this hamster wheel unless you learn how to regulate your nervous system and learn that you are safe in your body. And that was something that I was interesting, because that was one of my favorite parts to write about, was because everybody always describes me as so strong. And yet I just so wanted to be like, not today, guys.
Yeah.
Not today. I'm taking the day off. But you're right. It's like there's such a pressure. You don't want to be a downer. You don't want to cancel again. You don't want to ruin the soccer game or whatever games you were going to with your kids. You don't want to be like a burden. And yet you so need somebody to say it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah. I think I've found over the last few weeks, now that like my book's out in the world and like having people reach out to me with their reactions to it and how they feel about it, I actually have never felt stronger in sharing my pain.
Oh.
Like I feel stronger and more confident in telling my truth than I did of saying like, look how I'm dealing with it. Do you know what I mean?
It's so beautiful.
I think there's so much possibility of reframing a lot of these words and these labels that we can strive for or that are put upon us or we put upon ourselves. Like, I really feel like it's not that I was resentful before, but my friends all the time, you're the strongest girl I know. You're my hero. And like, I love them for it. I know what they're saying. I know what they meant, but it was a little complicated for me, like to hear that sometimes. But like, I really feel like over the last few weeks, like I'm able to receive it because I feel it. And it only is coming from just being able to be authentic and honest about all of it.
That's so beautiful. It really is interesting. Like I'm so proud of you. The way that I've been watching all your interviews. I told you I was DMing you. I'm like literally walking around New York City with your book in my hand, reading while I'm walking, which I probably shouldn't be doing, but I couldn't put it down because you were just so authentically yourself and so honest. And it felt like you gave people room to breathe that struggle in the same way. I mean, I resonated so deeply with everything you said when you spoke and in your book, because when you are honest about something that is so painful, you give so many people permission to be okay that they're not okay, and to know that they don't have to pave over pain. They don't have to keep secrets because it makes, they don't have to do all of these things and hold this burden. I mean, I wonder if it's this way for you, but for me, like when I handed in the manuscript for this next book, I felt like 50 pounds came off my shoulders.
Yeah, that's
And
amazing.
I was terrified to send it. I'm terrified for it to come out into the world.
Why?
But because I'm so vulnerable in it, and because I'm sharing, I thought there's this mental health stigma, and what if people call me crazy, or what if people do this or do that? But when I handed it in and I just said, I'm just releasing this, I felt such a weight come off of me, being like, I've been walking around with 60 pounds on my shoulders, like just carrying this like secret pain that nobody can see. And to be able to do that for other people, to give them permission to do the same thing and to heal and to recognize that maybe something is wrong in a way that they could get help from, is so beautiful. And you did that so incredibly. I told you, I cried the whole time you were talking.
Amy, you're about to get all of that. You're about to feel all of that. And I'm so excited for you to receive that, because you deserve it. You have worked so hard in your journey of working so hard to save yourself and heal yourself in all of the ways. Like, I don't know if you knew it during it. I mean, of course you didn't, but I hope you feel it now that it's so much bigger than you. It's like part of your purpose and your service, and you've alchemized your pain into something really beautiful, that a gift that you can give other people. Again, it's like I always use the word lighthouse because I just love that. Like when somebody's just lost and scared and out at sea and not knowing which direction, like you are showing them a light of like, come this way. Like, I've got you. I see you. And I can't wait for the book to come out into the world. Please tell everyone when they can pre-order it now, right?
Comes out June 9th. I'm crying.
Oh my God, it's so soon.
June 9th. But You Look Fine, Trapped in the Hell Between Sick and Well, and How to Break Free. Anywhere books are sold. You can find me on amykurtz.com or on Instagram, _Amy Kurtz. There was another Amy Kurtz.
Okay, good to know.
Thank you so much for that. That is like the highest compliment and honor from you. And
well, it's reaching you because it's true and it's real, and you know it, and you should be proud of it and receive it because it's so
everything
true.
I do is so that people who are struggling with invisible illnesses feel less alone. And it's so interesting how life takes us in different paths, because I always thought I was an actor, and I literally wrote Kicking Sick to save my spirit. I needed a creative outlet. So I just pivoted. Yeah. And it's just amazing how your life can just take you in a different direction. I never thought that I'd be writing books or that I'd love writing them. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have met you. Yeah. And there wouldn't be me and the reader that I connect with. And that's just an incredible thing when you let your pain become your purpose and try to offer guidance and help to someone who's struggling in the dark, which you do so beautifully.
Thank you. Well, everyone that's listening, let Amy just be an example for you of showing possibility that, things can happen, but there's pivots, and there's sometimes a beautiful destination at the end of this different road that you're taking. And it's like I always say, my husband always tells me, your story isn't over yet. So there's a lot more to come, and who knows what is to come. And I want to close this out, Amy, by asking you, if you could tell little Amy one thing about her life, what would it be? Take your time.
That's such a good question. Oh, I've been crying the whole time.
I know. It's kind of, I love to cry. So
I do too.
sorry, I'll bring you along with me.
Everybody should be crying.
It feels so good.
I know. It's just so good. I would tell her, don't be scared. I can handle it. And it will be more beautiful than you could have imagined on the other side.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.